Hi ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about finding the domain of a function. What you're looking at right now is a flowchart that I designed for you to ask yourself these questions to help you determine how to solve for the domain of a function. This is something you might want to take a minute and write down and make in your notebook. Okay, so let's review it. So it says find the domain of the function. The way this flowchart works is you start at the top, and this is the first question you will ask yourself every time. Is the function a fraction with a variable on the bottom? If the answer is no, so I don't have a fraction, the variable's not in the bottom, I say no. The next question you're going to ask yourself is there a variable under the radical? Let's say again, the answer is no. We go down, so then the answer is all real numbers. That's what that symbol right there stands for. Okay, so let's back up. So is there a variable under the radical? Let's say yes. There is a variable underneath my radical. So yes. Is there a fraction with a variable in the denominator under the radical? So is there a fraction under my radical with the variable in the bottom? No, so then I take my radicand, everything underneath my radical, set it greater than or equal to 0, solve. Then I write my domain as there's my domain and the answer from this step. Let's say yes, I do have a fraction under my radical and my variable is in the bottom. So then I set the denominator of the radicand greater than 0, solve, and write the domain as that answer from step number 2. That's for this side. Okay? Let's go back up to my original question. Is the function a fraction with a variable on the bottom? So then let's say my answer is yes. Is the variable under a radical in the denominator? Let's say no. Then we set the denominator equal to 0, solve, write the domain, and it tells you how to write the domain right here. Okay, that would be how you would state your answer. If we come back up here and say yes, there is a variable under a radical in the denominator. So then we're going to set my radicand, whatever's underneath my radical, greater than 0, and solve and write the domain as follows. This is going to help you do every problem. These questions are designed to help you determine how to solve the problem. So to be successful, you need to use this every time. The more you use it, the more you'll know how to do it without looking at it. So let's see what I have. So I have this here. And if we remember, the first question you're going to ask yourself is there a fraction? Hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. So the first question you're going to ask yourself is the function a fraction with a variable on the bottom? So is this function a fraction? Yes. Is the variable on the bottom? Yes. There's my variable. It's in the bottom. So then the next question I would ask is the variable under a radical? No, there is no radical underneath here. So then it says set the denominator equal to 0. So I'm going to take just my denominator, nothing else. X plus 4 equals 0. Okay? And then we're going to solve. So subtract 4 off of both sides. X equals -4. So then step number 3 tells me write the domain as X does not equal -4. That is my domain. And there is my answer. So let's look at this one here. And the first question, is the function a fraction with a variable on the bottom? No, that is not a fraction here. So we go to the no question. And it says, is there a variable under a radical? Yes, my variable is underneath a radical. So it tells me, is there a fraction with a variable in the denominator under the radical? No, there's no fraction. So it says set the radicand greater than or equal to 0. And remember, this is my radicand. Okay, that is my radicand. So sorry about that, guys. Have the wrong function going. 1 minus 3w is greater than or equal to 0. I'm going to solve for that by subtracting 1 off of both sides. -3w is greater than or equal to -1. we're going to divide both sides by -3. W, and this is 1/3. Remember, my inequality now has to change directions. Okay, and then it tells me to write my domain. Domain is W is less than or equal to 1/3, and there is my answer. Okay? So again, while I'm doing this, listen to the questions that I'm asking you as we go through them. So in this problem here, we start at the top. Is the function a fraction with a variable on the bottom? No, it is not. So we go to no. Is there a variable under the radical? No, there is no radical. So we go down to no. And since this answer is no, all I have to do is state that my domain is all, that's ugly. I take that back. Let me try that again. Is all real numbers. So this symbol means all real numbers. That is the symbol for that. So if you ever see that, that's exactly what that means. And it tells me anybody can be plugged into that with no issues. So let's move on to this last one. And looking at this again, is the function a fraction with a variable on the bottom? Yes, there's variables all over the place, but what I'm concerned about is there one on the bottom? Yes. Is the variable under a radical? No, it is not. So set the denominator equal to 0. Notice how it's only the denominator, not the numerator, just the denominator. So we set it equal to 0, I solve, I write my domain, r does not equal 1, and that is it. As far as I'm concerned, this has nothing to do with it. The top part has nothing to do with my domain, just this bottom part. Okay? If you need anything else, let me know. Again, available at the Google Meets. Email me, whatever. Ask your questions. I'm always available to help.